At these brothers. Now, I wanted to talk about something real quick, and it's not necessarily a piggyback off of this conversation we had maybe a video or two ago. I'll leave a link, but it's kind of like a continuation or a second chapter of that conversation where I was kind of talking about everybody falls on one side of the fence, right? Decepticons and all that kind of stuff, right? It's kind of like a continuation of that conversation. And what I want to talk about, man, is really destiny swappers. I want to talk about destiny swappers, man. And the first time I heard this word was probably a couple of years ago when I was going through a situation and I was explaining to this sister that I know, man, this sister that I deemed to be enlightened. And she was telling me about destiny swappers, about people about people that are literally trying to swap your life or swap your energy for their own to build their own kingdom, right? And I'll explain here in a second, right? But it's not necessarily about destiny swappers as much as it's about really explaining, and I'll use the word downfall, or I'll say that the one thing that you have to be cautious about after finding enlightenment, the one thing you have to be cautious about after finding self. And it's people that are attempting to utilize you or utilize your energy to again build their own kingdom, right? So I'll just start from the jump, right? So when I say finding self, of course that can be a long conversation. We can talk about all these kind of roads and avenues to get to this point. But if you want to talk about the shortest road to finding self, it's simply the two greatest commandments that the messenger talked about, right? When the cat asked the messenger or asked Jesus, like, and it seemed like it was almost like a trick question, like he was trying to get him caught up. He said, "What are the two greatest commandments that a man shall follow?" Right? And the messenger said, the first greatest commandment is to one, follow God and follow only God, worship only God, right? And the second one is to treat your brother like you treat yourself, right? And as you heard me say a number of times before, man, I read that or I heard that just like everybody else. And for years, I kind of just said, oh, you know what? That seems like some words of wisdom, but I had no idea that was a direct line to finding self, right? Meaning that first commandment, love God with all your heart, the whole point of that is to bypass the ways and the mindsets of the world. Because once you seek God, once you seek God and put God on the pedestal on the pedestal by itself, there is no other light and dark. There is no other Jesus right beside him. It's just God. You begin to see the world as God sees it. You know what I'm saying? You literally become. I'll use the word born again. You could have been on this planet for 20 years, 40 years, 60 years. Once you see the world as God sees it by seeking God, it's a completely different planet, right? So that's the first part of finding self. The second part, he said, treat your brother like you treat yourself, right? In other words, you understand that all of us, regardless of our race, creed, religion, all this stuff, all of us are fragments of that whole. And once you see the world through the lens of God, the first part, you can't help but love your brother and love your sister like you love yourself, right? And once you connect those two dots, it's consciousness, it's self, it's walking in your God authority. It's all those words we talk about, right? Now, this is what I want to talk about. You have to understand one of the first things you'll learn, and most people I believe will learn it the hard way. One of the first things you'll learn, or one of the first pitfalls you'll find yourself that you've fallen into, is once you get this newfound wisdom and this newfound lens to see the world through, the first thing you're gonna think, because it feels so good, you're gonna think, or you're gonna forget that everybody doesn't see the world like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand when you're walking in this energy and love, in this energy of love, you become very, I don't want to say naive, but you become very gullible for a minute. You become, because you think that everybody sees the world like that. So you just open your heart and open your mind and open your knowledge to everybody. But you have to understand, when you do that, it's like people that are walking in a certain energy will see that and attack that energy. And again, some word, a word that a lot of people use is destiny swappers, but that's slightly a different thing, because there are some people that operate on a literal dark level, and they're literally trying to swap lives, and that can be a conversation that can really get too dark for YouTube if I was to have that full conversation. But just for the sake of keeping it, PG, or keeping it YouTube friendly, you have to understand, there are a lot of people that will see you walking in that light, that will see you walking in that unfiltered light for everybody, and will use your light to build their kingdom. They'll use your light. They'll use your energy. They'll use everything about you to use your energy. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I think people get caught up in this, right? I'll just say this real quick, is because when you first find self, you'll find yourself operating in a community type vibe. But to be honest, man, it's very dangerous to walk in it. And when I say community type vibe, what I'm really talking about is, like, have you ever been to a place, and these kind of places are rare. You can find them in some cities, or you can find them in some countries or villages, right? Have you ever seen a community that operates, or let's say, have you ever seen a community of people, whether it's a neighborhood, whether it's a block, whatever, that operates, and they have a community garden? A community garden. Like, the first time I walked inside of a community garden, and somebody explained to me what it was and how it worked, and how everybody could just come and get all the greens and turnips and tomatoes and green, the first thing I thought was, this is not going to work. I said, because you're going to have some people come out here that they aren't planting seeds, but they're coming every day getting more than their fair share. I said, this isn't going to work. But you have to understand, when most people have a community garden, you have a lot of people in a similar mindset. You have to have a lot of people in a mindset that see the world through the lens of God, and see their brothers and sisters as themselves. That's the only way it'll work. You know what I'm saying? If you have one bad seed in there, that garden at some point is going to diminish. So when you see people have a community garden, a garden where everybody can go and pick a certain amount, everybody can go and plant a certain thing, for that to function, you got to have people that walk in a certain energy. So you're going to come out in this newfound knowledge of self, and you're going to think everybody walks in that energy, man. You're going to think everybody walks in that energy, but you're going to quickly become a target, because while you're just walking around, kind of floating on this cloud, everybody will see you and will instantly want to pull from you without putting anything back. And the thing is this, it might take you forever to realize this. And to be honest, some people may never realize it, because you got to understand, we're actually pulling from a limitless source. We're actually pulling from a limitless source. So to be honest, if you never really have this conversation, you can go your whole life just tapping into God and just being a vessel for others to build off of. You know what I'm saying? But if you pause and say, hey, you know what? I understand I'm tapped into limitless, a source that has no bottom. I understand how to create my world. But at some point, you're going to look around and you're going to say to yourself, hey, you know what? I understand the power I'm tapped into, but the world around me doesn't reflect the way I'm moving. You know what I'm saying? The kingdom that lives in my mind, like the world that I'm building in my mind, the I am that I'm walking in, like, I understand how this thing works, and the world that I'm walking in, it isn't manifesting itself. You have to understand, if you're plugged into source and you're moving in a certain manner, you've built a kingdom, your world will reflect. Again, it's not a roll of the dice. And you hear me say this all the time, like a lot of times when we grow up in certain religious sectors, and I won't say Christian, because I believe all of them have this. A lot of religions have this idea that manifestation or bringing things to be is a roll of the dice. Like, hey, you know what? If you send this prayer up to the good Lord and hope and then maybe one day this thing may come down, or maybe it won't. Like, we don't know. Like, it's 50-50. You have to understand, this God that we serve, this God that we plug into, it's not 50-50. It's us plugging in, it's us walking in a certain energy, and it's a certain thing coming to pass. But kind of like I talked about some weeks ago, I think I talked about on YouTube, maybe it was Power Circle, but I was talking about how we only have so much bandwidth. Even though we're tapped into something that's limitless, we only have so much bandwidth and so much to build with as human beings. You have to understand, man, if you're unaware of what's taking place, man, you can have somebody somebodies that's taking your energy to build their kingdom in an attempt or disregarding if it's leaving you depleted or not. And this can come in the fashion. This can come in friends. This can come in the form of your employer. This can come in the form of a relationship. It can come in any form. It doesn't matter who the person is. It can be a friend. It can be a family member. It can be anything. It can be a stranger. You know what I'm saying? But you have people that will see your light and extract from that light and build their kingdom off of it. And when I say it's common, it's common. When you see a lot of people that move a certain way, that move in a tight energy, and their life is always kind of up and down, it's odds are somebody's pulling from their pot. And this is the thing, man. It really comes down to a person being spiritually lazy. It really comes down to people being spiritually lazy. And what I mean by that is, excuse me, brothers. What I mean by that is, you can give these people the one-on-one of, well, I'll say this. If you move in this energy of having found self, you move in a certain energy where you're just automatically a beacon. But the thing is, you can tell when somebody moves in this energy, because that whole mindset of gatekeeping is going away. Like gatekeeping, like not telling people how to get the game, it goes away. It trips me out, man, on people that comment on some of my videos, or especially on TikTok. Said, hey man, why you telling everybody how Thailand is and how good the people are and how cheap the property, how cheap the bills are. You gotta understand, that's a lack mindset when somebody's saying, hey, you know what, this thing is so good, we can't tell everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are the primary people I'm talking about. They're operating in an energy where they desire a certain thing, but they don't want, when I say spiritually lazy, they don't want to do the work it takes to walk in that power. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you talk about the power of having found self, the power of having been done the work to connect to God, it's work. To walk in light, I want to say light, to walk in fullness, because it's not just light. When you find self, it's both light and dark. It's balance. To find that light and dark, bro, it's work. It's work. It's hard. One thing I talked about in that video, going through the fire, like, a lot of people can look at themselves and look at the light and see what they need to do better. But most people don't want to do the work when you have to go inside and find those voids and find those toxins and talk about those vices and talk about that trauma. Oh, that's work. And a list of other things. It takes work to walk with God. Again, being chosen, if you want to use those words, which, it takes work. It's painful. It's a long journey. And a lot of people, you can give a lot of people the game. Like, hey, brother, man, let's just, you got to do this, man. You got to spend some time in silence, man. You got to cut the vices, man. You got to cut back on the women. Cut back on the drink, man. Go inside. Spend a couple of weeks to yourself. All this stuff, man. Let's talk about the Trump. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people saying, nope, you know what? Instead of doing that, let me connect to somebody who already walks in that light. Let me act as if I'm an ally. Let me act as if we're kin. Let me act as if we're blood. Let me act as if I love that person if it's a relationship. Let me, just to get close to them. Like I said, I told y'all, I've said this a million times. Every relationship is a marriage. The relationship you have with your spouse or your wife is a marriage. I don't care if y'all have gone to the courthouse or not. I don't care if the judges, it's a marriage. If y'all are engaging in intimacy and emotional exchange, it's a marriage. The relationship you have with your parents, your mom and dad, it's a marriage. The relationship you have with your kids, it's a marriage. The relationship you have with the person down there frying your chicken at Popeyes, if y'all down there kikiing and laughing and it's a marriage. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand, you're letting people in your world. You're letting people in your world. So when you see some people walk around, man, and they're kind of course, they're friendly because they're walking in the energy of God, but they're not real social. You know what I'm saying? Like when you walk in this energy, you gotta understand, you really don't need a lot of friends. You're gonna have your small circle, but you aren't gonna be one talking on the phone. You ain't finna be talking on the phone to just random people. You're not finna be going out, hanging out, clubbing with random people, because you have something to protect now. You have something to, and I know what I'm saying. A lot of y'all are saying, oh, Soul on this BS again. I don't know what he's talking about. But some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like even even a couple of years ago, man, when you look at Gates, and I love Gates, man, but I loved over the last number of years seeing Gates go through this. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when Gates went through that part, and I could tell where he was when Gates was going through that mental stage where he was like, hey, don't even touch me. Like he'll be in an interview, man, and a lady might just say, hey, Kevin, so what's up? And he'd be like, ho. Or a dude would be like, hey, man, let me dap you up. He'd be like, I can't do that. Like I can't engage in that form of intimacy with anybody because now I'm letting you in my world. I'm exposing my light to you, and you're exposing your darkness to me. You know what I'm saying? You have to understand when you exchange energies with somebody like that, you're giving them access to utilize yours. Let's say, for example, man, me and my brothers in the power circle talk, and I'm not talking about, well, hell, even in the power circle call, all of us are exchanging energy. It's a third marriage of men. I talk about it in the book, right? But if you sitting there, like I got some partners, like my partner, my day one, L Kid, Brother Lane Kid. Y'all see him comment on the video sometime. That's like my day one. I don't never remember a day of not knowing this dude. You know what I'm saying? I've known him my whole life. And when me and him just sitting there talking, whether it's on the phone or whether it's in person, we chopping up having lunch. When me and him sitting there engaging, it's a full blown marriage. You know what I'm saying? I understand it. When me and him are talking, I can go full blown God mode. I can open this space up because I'm safe with him, and we can exchange. Like I remember one time when me and Lane really started chopping as adults. I remember we were in Louisiana. I think he just opened up a business in Louisiana some years ago, man. And we were sitting there eating at a sandwich shop he had just opened up, man. And just sitting there just chopping about books, about da-da-da-da. And when I left that situation, I had left with a whole newfound knowledge of the world. And I'm sure he did too. We just swapped energies. You have to understand that energy exchange is huge, but if one person hasn't done the work, one person is about to be depleted. One person is about to be depleted. Like, for example, have you ever been, and I'm sure some of y'all can relate to this, man. Have you ever been in a relationship with a woman? Beautiful, fine, sexy, cool, nice, whatever. But when you're around her, it feels a certain way. And then when you're not, when you're around her, you feel depleted. And when she leaves, you feel okay again. Or let's say, for example, if y'all are like dating on and off, y'all are dating for 2 or 3 months, 6 months, and then y'all break up for a month. And in those between times, you feel that energy come back. You feel that thought come back. Bro, you're being drained. You know what I'm saying? Like a toxic relationship isn't always about a woman cheating on you. Matter of fact, you're better off having a woman cheat on you. Well, I won't say better off. But it's a completely different situation when a woman is cheating on you as opposed to stealing your energy. But it's kind of the same coin, because most of the time when a woman is cheating on you, she's really, and that's a whole nother conversation. We might have that one too. When a woman is cheating on you, that's a whole nother conversation. But you got to understand, there's a level of conversation where a woman strictly cheats because she's being spiritually pimped, meaning she's going around getting energy from men, taking it back to her host. And I've been in that situation too. I've been on the business end or the bad end of that too. But if you're around a situation, a female, or if you're around a partner, and it's like, man, every time I'm around Joe Blow, man, it's like, man, I feel off. I feel like I gotta protect something about me. I feel like something is at risk when I'm just talking. And it's to the point now where I can identify even brothers. A sister is kind of easy, because if you be around a sister for a little bit and your energy is drained, it's like, okay, I understand it. Yeah, you might be smiling and cute and thick and fine, but energetically, you're robbing me. I feel it. But with a partner, man, before I couldn't feel it with a partner until like over the last few years, I've had partners in my face that are like, Kiki, haha, let's do this, let's do some business together, let's go live, let's work. And even though I could hear their words, I could look at their face and I could see their aura, and it's telling me a different story from what I'm hearing. But since it was kind of new to me, because I'm really just now, over the last 4 years, opened up to even have friends. Like that's a new thing to me. So it took me a minute to understand that I can see a certain thing, or I can hear a certain thing from a brother's mouth, but feel a certain thing from his energy. And I didn't put those two together until I had a few situations where overnight a brother was just like, I'm out, like, you know. And I said, oh, okay, now I have to tie that to the intuition of my gut and add 2 and 2. Okay, I see brothers now. So now I can see a brother that comes in my life and it's not a healthy relationship. And it's to the point, it's like this now. And you can take it how you want to take it. I'm to the point now, man, where I don't have any relationships with any brothers that don't offer the same thing energetically. Like a lot of brothers call me and want to have certain kind of conversations. And, hey, man, let's talk about relationships, man. Give me some game on this. Or let's talk about spirituality and the journey and the seeking of the truth. Like, break that down to me. So what do you... And I will. But that brother has to be able to give me an equal exchange of some kind of energy. Has to. Because if not, now it's a consultation. It's a consultation now. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of friends, and I won't say a lot because I don't have but a few partners, man, that can just call me on a whim. It ain't but a handful of people that can just boom, call me Soul. Like, I'm just finna call Soul and we just finna chop. I don't play those games, bro. And it's not because, oh, Soul just don't. I just don't talk to nobody because I have something to protect. Like, I can't walk in my purpose and play those games. I can't walk in my purpose and be at the strip club on the weekends. I can't walk in my purpose and be out here drunk. It's not that, hey, man, I want to have fun with everybody else. It's not that I don't like fun things. It's just that now I find pleasure in walking in my I am. There's nothing higher than that, right? And I know I'm getting off topic, but what I want to say, man, in a nutshell is, when you walk in this energy, you have to understand, like I said, you can tell people how to do the work, but a lot of people, they'll just refuse to do the work because they're just spiritually lazy, or that part, or going to that dark side is just too much of a challenge. So as opposed to doing that, what they'll do is just attach themselves to someone that's found self. Attach themselves to someone who walks in that energy of balance, and slowly extract gold from them. And I'm not talking about knowledge, because it's not necessarily that they want the knowledge, because if they wanted the knowledge, they would take the knowledge and put the work in. They don't want the knowledge. Like, you can give them the one-on-one. They don't want the knowledge. They want the exposure to your light. They want that marriage with you. They want to be on the inside of your heart and just nickel and dime you. If y'all watched the video I made about a year ago, Sleeping with the Enemy, and I was talking about the architect, and I was talking about a man, myself in that scenario. I was talking about a man that had got with the woman and was building a kingdom, but he would come in and look at I'll leave a link to that video. but he was coming and looking at the infrastructure and just noticing things were missing, noticing that he was building a house, but materials were missing. Things weren't going as planned, even though he understood how to be an architect of this world. And he looked up and he saw the person he with, sliding lumber and sliding bricks out the back door to build another kingdom. That's kind of like the conversation I was having a second ago, right? But you have to understand people, friends, sometimes relatives, sometimes co-workers, the people you're in a relationship. If you're unaware, they will make an attempt to, and I'll go back to the main word, destiny swap with you. In other words, they'll make an attempt to take the power that you have, the power that you walk in, the light and the authority that you have. They'll get your heart space and nickel and dime you and build their own kingdom. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. You know what I'm saying? On the easiest of levels to see this, when you see a woman, kind of like the whole Tyreek Hill situation, and I use Tyreek because Tyreek wasn't married but for a couple of months. Tyreek worth who knows how many millions. He marries a regular schmegular woman, right? And within months, she has a baby and she's gone. That's surface level destiny swapping. That's saying, hey, you know what, Tyreek, I see you walking in a certain energy, like you move in a certain way that God is bestowing certain energies through you. You're walking it like you're able to manifest a large kingdom. Like I could easily put in the work that you're putting in, but let me, literally in this case, let me marry you. Let me become one with you. And then let me disconnect myself once I got enough to utilize your kingdom for myself. Of course, that's in the physical work. That's in the physical realm. But as above, so below. This same thing is happening all over the place. And you got to understand. This is when you have to understand. It's not just intimate relationships, because I believe all of us know that it takes place in intimate relationships. But you have to understand, all relationships are relationships. All relationships are marriages. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna say this, man. Guard your hearts, brother. Guard your heart space. And again, I'm not just talking about relationships with women. Guard your heart space. When a brother calls you up and he's asking about your next move, when he calls you up and he wants to know your recipe. I'm not talking about the grand recipe of mankind. Love God with all your heart. I'm not talking about that. You have to understand, when you find self, this is a whole nother conversation. But when you find self, you're giving marching orders. You're giving a way to move. You're giving a way to navigate on this planet that nobody else has. Just like, again, as above, so below. Just like everybody on the planet, 8 point something billion, and nobody has the same fingerprint. Think about that, bro. 8 point something billion people, and you can have a database with fingerprints and it's connected to one person. No two people have the same fingerprint. So that's what I'm saying, man. When you're giving your marching orders, when you find self, you're giving your recipe. You know what I'm saying? You're giving your prescription on how to move. Never on any level, man. Never disclose this information to anybody else. And it's really hard to disclose that information, because that information doesn't come in words. It's a frequency. But never disclose, and you hear me talk about this all the time, never disclose to anybody what's inside that sanctum sanctorum, because once you do, now you energetically belong to them. When you watch that movie Get Out, that's really what he was talking about. Like, you can be engaged with somebody, intertwined with somebody for so long, but if you go so deep and give them access to this, now it's kind of like the brother, I can't think of his name, the brother that was sitting there looking all dazed and had the blood running out his nose. That brother was he was so deep into that relationship that he had given up his source code. Never give up your source code. I say this in a singular truth, man. I say, you know what? I talked about the third marriage of man, brotherhood, community. I said, you know what, man, one beautiful thing about community or about the third marriage of man or brotherhood, like, and I said it in a paragraph, but I said you can network. I said you can net. I said one powerful thing about it is you can network, right? I said the second thing about it is now you don't have to fall in the same traps that your brothers did. Like when we get in the power circle, man, a lot of brothers talk about certain things about relationships, certain things about their career. And we can all listen. And if you got 100 men on a call and one brother says, hey, I did this right here and fell in this trap. Now you have 99 other brothers that don't have to do it. So that's the second part about the power of the third marriage of man. But in the book, I said this. I said those are the two powerful positions of the third marriage of man. I said, but in no case should any of these men disclose their own recipe or allow anybody else in that sanctum sanctorum. That's your fingerprint, bro. That's your fingerprint. And you have to understand, a lot of people, they can't speak to this, but a lot of people, when they're trying to get in your life, they're really trying to get your source code. They're trying to get your source code. Because now once they get that, now you're a puppet. You're a puppet. Right? So think about this. And this is a whole nother conversation, man. And I'm not going to go around this. But when you talk about the matrix, the system, how do you think the system works? That's how the system works. You have a country or a group of people or a system that have this is how they do it. They force their source code onto you. And since they forced it onto you, they have the software to it. So now they can control you. You know what I'm saying? I know that sounds kind of like what it's all talking about. You have to understand this. If everybody is given a source code, when I say given a source code, go back to the Bible so y'all can relate. Let's go to the Bible. When God says, seek ye first the kingdom. In other words, seek ye first me. Seek ye first marriage of man. The marriage with me, the first commandment, greatest commandment of God. Seek ye first this, and I'm going to give you something to live by. That's why he said, seek it first. Seek it first. I'm going to give you your marching orders, because once you have your marching orders, nobody can touch you. This world has no power over you if you come find me first. That's why Jesus said the greatest two commandments, right? So if they can cut you off at the knees, if they can turn you into Lieutenant Dan, where you can't find the kingdom, now they can say, hey, you know what? You ain't got to find the kingdom. The kingdom is right here. This is what God is. This is what Jesus is. And that's where they rob you. They give you a whole new source code. They give you a whole new source code. So now you think God is all up in the clouds and in the sky. You think Jesus is 2025 years ago. And you walking around operating on some faulty software. And since they gave you the software, they control the software. Now they can tell you what's good and what's bad and how to move and how to vote and how to live and how to do this. You know what I'm saying? And then when somebody comes to you and try to give you game or try to give you truth, either you're going to talk bad about them, call them the devil, say they're wrong, right? Or you're going to say, hey, you know what? I hear what they're saying. I can feel a level of truth in what they're talking about. But man, I see the work it takes to get to that point. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. So you know what? Let me just rub elbows with them a little bit. Let me just kiki and kai with them. If it's a woman, let me just get in a relationship with this man for a minute. Like this man, like it's something about him that glows. Let me just get in and mix energies with him, for a little bit, and so I can utilize that to build my kingdom. But I'm gonna tell you this, man, and I'm not gonna talk about that. When I leave that link to sleeping with the enemy, y'all understand more about what I'm talking about when it comes to relationships. Because what a lot of women will do, whole nother topic, but not even women. What will happen is when a lot of people that haven't done the work get in relationships or marriages with people that have, and they're exchanging that light. It's dangerous. It's dangerous to even be exposed to that light if you haven't done the work. It's dangerous because if you're exposed to that God energy, without having traveled the path to get it yourself, you can easily get this energy and think that you're God. Look what I'm saying. If you haven't walked that green mile and you get a dose of God energy, you'll think you're God. Instead of being a component of God or being made in the image or likeness of God, you will think you are it. And you will start moving in that energy. You know what I'm saying? And you don't, what they don't understand is this is the main thing they don't understand. And this is where people that destiny swap lose. They'll connect with somebody that has that God essence. They'll get this energy and start thinking they're God. They'll separate from that person who acts as a conduit through God. And once that separation is gone, you have to understand that is a long fall for a person. Because now you're going from thinking you're God to going back to the hell that you were in from the get-go. It's bad enough if you've done the work to connect to God and go back to that dark space. That's hell. But if you're ignorant enough to think that you're God itself and then go back to hell, that's when you have people deleting themselves or going into states of depression that can't be reversed. You know what I'm saying? So, in a nutshell, before I get to Rumble, because I can talk about this for hours, man. I actually should have went live so we can have a lot of discussion. I could talk about this for days, man, because it's something that you have to understand. And like I'm always talking about, and I know it's getting dark out here, man. Like I'm always talking about moving in a certain way. Like I'll say things like, you can be moving in a certain way, and I get the conversations a lot. I get conversations where people will say, so, hey man, I read the book, man. Hey, I'm doing the work. I'm doing I'm doing all these things, man. But the world is not doing something. The world, like it ain't doing what it's supposed to. And the thing is, I love having these conversations again because it's not a roll of the dice. There's no such thing as saying, oh man, the good Lord might just not be. That's not even a real thing. Don't let anybody convince you that that's a real thing, man. Like I'm gonna say this: at some point in time, life will happen to us. At some point in time, we might get some kind of illness and die. So I'm not saying that so like life will happen, but there's no such thing like outside of death. There's no such thing as us moving in a certain energy to obtain a certain thing and it not panning out. Like it's either us not moving right or it's something siphoning that God energy that we're used to create. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to end with this. If you're doing the work, if you have done the work, if you found self, if you walk in that energy of balance, if you're connected to God, right? And all that talk, and you look up and you say, man, I've done that. But this world I'm trying to create. Like I have the kingdom inside of my mind, 4 levels of becoming, if you haven't seen that. Like I have this world created in my mind and I'm walking in it. Like I'm walking in it. So, I can actually see this world around me, but for some reason it won't come into fruition. Like it won't kick into second gear. Check your circle. And when I'm having these conversations on one-on-one, we can have all this conversation, man. Like somebody might spend a whole hour kind of telling me what's going on. Okay, this is going on. Okay, bet this is going on. Okay, you're doing this. Okay, boom, boom. Let's get all this. Everything is on the table now. Now let's talk about who's in your circle. Have you been entertaining any other women? Like what's going on in the relationship department? Yeah, man. Well, I met this chick about 2 weeks ago, man. She a baddie. Let me tell you about it. Hold up. You don't have to tell me about it. You've been telling me about it the whole last hour because you've explained to me what your world is doing. Well, hey, man, yeah, man, a couple weeks ago, man, I was in Vegas and ran across one of my old classmates, man, and we got to hanging out and shooting and shit and smoking. Like there's your problem. There's your problem. So if your world isn't doing what it's supposed to do, man, audit your circle first. Audit yourself first, right? Audit your habits, audit your vices, audit where your time is being spent. But after that, audit your circle, man. And when I say audit your circle, you heard me say this a million times. Nobody is immune. When you're auditing your circle, don't leave anybody outside of that circle. If they're breathing, I don't care. I don't care if y'all share the same DNA. I don't care what. Audit every single person and say, you know what? Is this person robbing me of my energy, or is there a balance of the exchange of God energy? Is there a balance of love and like is there community there, or is this person taking me brick by brick in silence to build their own kingdom? It'll be an eye opener. It'll be a painful eye opener. Destiny swappers, brother.